Well, hello everyone. It's been a hot minute or so since I've done a video. It's been kind of a hectic month, both at home and at work. And I gotta tell you, I've had a couple of ideas. I even started putting one together for an artist and who I thought I had everything by. Turned out I was wrong, and that was good for me because one, I didn't want to be unprepared, and two, I was really sort of lost at the beginning of the year here, to the end of last year, as to where to go next with my obsessive collecting. So I'm not going to tell you who it is. I will when I finally make the video. I think you'll enjoy it. I already have two more packages on order from this person, and I have a couple of more DVDs and CDs to get. Again, I thought I had the whole collection except for maybe one live DVD, and anywho, so confession time. Maybe this means something, maybe it doesn't. I've had a bad day. I've had a really bad day today, actually. And one of the best things you can do when you're down or having a bad day is to be productive, to not allow the whole day to be shot, right? And what are the three things that can really make a day better? Music, of course, coffee, and talking about music while drinking coffee. And I'm so fortunate to have a handful of people out there in YouTube land who watch my stuff. I'm drinking World Market Sumatra coffee. I buy the K-cups from there because they actually don't have the plastic crap on the bottom. It's a filter, and so you get more the pure taste of the coffee. A little while ago, my brother-in-law made it, who I didn't even know watched my videos, and so I'm really thankful for that. He made a comment about, oh, well, soon you'll have something else to sip, and that was just a bit before Christmas. Every Christmas he sends me Fisherman's Blend by Cutter's Point. He lives out on the West Coast, he and his wife do, and they graciously and kindly send me a bag of the coffee every Christmas. One year he didn't, and silly as this sounds, I'm a paranoid guy, I'm a worrier, and so I thought, oh no, I made him mad. I seriously wondered what I had done to upset him or hurt him, and I don't remember what I got in its place. He's a good gift giver, so it was probably something nice, something I wanted, but I was actually worried. So anyway, he sent it to me for Christmas again this year. I don't open it right away. I always hold it for a month, 2 months, whatever, because it's a little pricey to have shipped from the West Coast out here to Michigan, and it's probably my favorite coffee. And once I open it, it goes real quick, and I want to be able to savor it and enjoy it, and I have enough other options to where I can hold off on it for a little while. So anyway, Sumatra it is. And this one I have mulled over, I have stewed over, I've done whatever you want to call it for a long, long time. Since I started, I used to keep a blog, and it's Brett's Music blog out there on Blogspot. The Google one. It still exists, I think. I think you can still find it. I just don't write about music like I used to, and that bums me out too. But anyway, I wrote about Motorhead quite a bit, and I think I did a top 10 then, but it has changed, as it tends to do. They're really kind of my band. They're right here, they're up here. I love all kinds of music. I've got Gord on the wall behind me. I spoke extensively about Gordon Lightfoot's catalog. I love all kinds of music. But Motorhead, the purity of the music, the energy, it's unmatched to me. They were so influential, and it wasn't really until the end that the band and Lemmy were getting the due they deserved. I will say too, for as iconic and larger than life as Lemmy was, if he hadn't had so many excellent musicians in the band with him, the band and its numerous lineups wouldn't have been as successful, and they wouldn't have held on for 40 years. Lemmy died in 2015. That was the 40th anniversary of the band. I will go through the lineups as we go. Some people refer to the 70, there was a brief lineup in 75 and then there was a change. And some people refer to the late 75 through 82 lineup as the classic. I'm going to nick this from Lem. To me, they're all classics. And as a matter of fact, the last iteration with guitarist Phil Campbell, drummer Mickey D, and from 84 to 95, Mick Burstyn, better known as Wurzel, that's actually my favorite lineup. Something about that music really connected with me. So I like a lot of people. I discovered them in my early teenage years, my formative listening years. I bought a live album. Today we're only talking about the studio records, though. And the live album, it turns out they've reissued and re-released and blah, 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 so many. That's going to be a whole different post on its own, and I'm not ready to rank those yet. This, I have written my top 22 down to 1 and 1 to 22 so many times, but I'm only going to do the top 10 because, as I've said before, I don't like to crap on people's art. I have a bottom, an album that's okay. It's all right. But there are only a handful of songs out of 12. There's 2 or 3 I like. But, you know, I have done entire rankings before. And honestly, even once I got past 9, it was hard to pick a 10th. Because the top 5, which, and I'll say this too, I used to think I knew my top 5 until I really went back and I listened to a bunch of these all over again. My number 1 has always been my number 1, but 2 through 5, even though they're 2 through 5, they sort of rotate. And I re-listened to them, I tried to with fresh ears, and albums I thought I liked more slid down, and some that I didn't, oh, I like them all to some extent, but the ones I wasn't as familiar with, I didn't play a lot, I thought, holy crap, there's a lot of really great stuff here. But it's so hard to rank. It's so fluid. I could put any of them on, like, 11 through 21. I could really put any of them on at any given time and sort of go, oh, okay, that's great, and bang your head and get energetic. And so now that I've blathered on for quite a while already, number 10 is a cheat. But again, it's my YouTube page, and I can cheat if I want. 1987's Rock and Roll and 2002's Hammered. The band themselves weren't even totally satisfied with these, and they receive overall good praise from the fans. There are some who don't think that these are the high points. These are both just so listenable to me, even though they're so different. This one really has an older rock and roll feel. This one has some really heavy moments on it, and this one doesn't, except for Traitor is a really heavy song on here. Has the title track, Eat the Rich, Blackheart, Stone Deaf in the USA, The Wolf, Traitor, Dogs All For You, and Boogeyman. This remaster has Cradle to the Grave, which was an Eat the Rich B-side, and Just 'Cause You Got the Power, which remained in the set list off and on until the very end. It was a slow bruiser. It was to Motorhead what Stranglehold is to Nugent, if you can picture that epicness. This had the lineup of Wurzel and Phil Campbell and Lemmy and Filthy Phil Taylor, the drummer from the first classic lineup. He had been gone for a few years. He came back. This is the 2000 Castle reissue. The sound is fantastic on here. And I wasn't going to buy the vinyl LP, but a couple years ago I thought I had lost the rock and roll CD, and I thought, I'll pick up the LP and put it in its place. And then I opened an Ozzy CD, and rock and roll was in there. I'd put 2 in together. And then Hammered, Walk a Crooked Mile, Down the Line, Brave New World, Voices from the War is Brutal, Mine All Mine, Shut Your Mouth, Kill the World, Dr. Love, No Remorse, which is just brutally heavy and slow, Red Raw, The Spoken Word, Serial Killer, and then the bonus tracks for this CD version are The Game, which was the Triple H theme song from the World Wrestling Federation, now World Wrestling Entertainment, and a live version of Overnight Sensation, which was their 1996 studio record. And both of these just ultra listenable to me. I can put them on and be completely satisfied. I really enjoy these immensely. All right, so now that that's out of the way, number 9. You all might be upset with me and want to murder me over this one, that it's not higher, but it isn't, because I never connected with this when I was younger. Ace of Spades. Because I got into the 90s Motorhead first, and Lemmy himself gave a quote that 1916, which was their 91 album, pisses all over Ace of Spades. I disagree, but Ace of Spades was, of course, the influential one. It was nearly a chart topper at the time, has the iconic title track, which the band, of course, got sick of playing, but played anyway. This is really where speed and thrash metal mixed with biker rock, mixed with hard rock, heavy metal. This is the album that most people know about, or where most people start. The title track itself, of course, is unfortunately what you hear most on radio, if you hear anything at all by them. But there are some other great songs on here. Love Me Like a Reptile is fun. Shoot You in the Back, Live to Win, Fast and Loose. The iconic We Are the Road Crew, Fire, Jailbait, Dance, Bite the Bullet. Another one that stayed in the set list forever and ever, The Chase is Better Than the Catch, and The Hammer. And then the bonus tracks are Dirty Love, Please Don't Touch an Emergency, which were part of the St. Valentine's Day Massacre they did with Girl School. Again, this is the 96 Castle remaster. The sound on this, all those Castle remasters were great. They did a bunch of Sabbath stuff too. It's 9, but it used to be much lower. And because, again, just, we connect with what we hear and what we first hear, right? It sticks with us forever. So when I heard this, I kind of went, oh, that's fine. I didn't understand the gravity of this album. And a friend of mine who's about 15 years younger, he got Ace of Spades on vinyl. He got into the early years first, and we listened to it one night. I went, oh, that's good. And so I sort of started rediscovering. I listened to the CD, and because I'm a ridiculous collector, in 2020, the 40th anniversary, this massive box set came out. Half-speed 180-gram remaster, 2 live albums, The Good, the Broken, the Ugly, which is a 19-song double album of B-sides, outtakes, and rarities, fistful of instrumentals, DVD compilation of rare and lost footage and a whole live show, and a 5.1 mix of the Ace of Spades album, plus a comic book, tour program, 40-page book about how it was made, a gambling game in here, dice. This was pricey, but not that bad. It was 175 American dollars, and worth every penny. The care that went into this. The album, it sounds so good, it's ridiculous. So anyway, and that's my number 9. Number 8. This one is a lot of fun, and here's another one I distinctly remember when I bought this album. Isn't it funny? You can remember certain things over so many years. It was my senior year of high school. It was for my government class. We took a road trip across the state to some big cultural exhibition, and there was a big mall that we got to go to afterwards. So that I remember that day because it was my first taste of Indian food. I'd never had Indian food before, and it was fantastic. And anyway, so there was a big mall there. And this is back when malls had CD stores in them. And my number 8, I bought the remaster of Orgasmatron. I knew the live, some of these songs from a couple live albums. I loved them. Bill Laswell, the production on here is very strange. They had not put a studio record out in a couple of years. They were on a new label called GWR, and this is the Castle remaster from 96 and then recopyrighted in 99. So it had just come out when I got it. Deaf Forever, Nothing Up My Sleeve, Ain't My Crime, Claw, Mean Machine, Built for Speed, Riding with the Driver, Dr. Rock, and the brilliant lyricism of the title song Orgasmatron. And you can laugh and think, oh, it's a silly title, and maybe it is, but the song is anything but silly. And here's another one. I didn't know what to make of the production. I preferred the live versions of the songs. And it wasn't until about 2017 when my good friend John, who owns Off the Record here in Grand Haven, that I always try to produce, got a bunch of great 80s metal, not hair metal, 80s real hard rock and heavy metal albums in. And he had an original pressing of Orgasmatron, and I went, you know what? I saw it. I said, I'll pass. Later that evening, he was still open, and I told my wife after we'd been out for dinner, I said, I have to go back and buy it. And I did. And so when I listened to the original vinyl pressing, it actually blows the CD out of the water in this case. It's killer. So do yourself a favor and check this one out. It's phenomenal. Number 7. I have the CD only because the CD came in the vinyl pressing of it. Number 7. Motorhead from 2002 or so onward used producer Cameron Webb. And Cameron really brought out some good traits in them. But from about 2007 to 2014, the albums really all kind of had the same groove. They were kind of the same. It was like business as usual. Good records, some great songs. But it wasn't until the very end that, to me, Motorhead really put out the best album they had in over a decade. The world knew that Lemmy was not in the best of health. He'd been canceling a few shows or having to walk off. Everybody thought, oh, age is catching up with him. He was 69 years old at the time. And it turned out he had terminal cancer, didn't know it. And that's unfortunately what he passed away from. But Motorhead left us on one of the highest notes they possibly could with the 40th anniversary of the band, album called Bad Magic. This one is fast, it's brutal, it's heavy, it's got amazing songs. The CD came, the LP, it came with a CD, the LP, and a download. So, for $21 at the time, you really got your money's worth. Opening, Victory or Die, Thunder and Lightning, Firestorm Hotel, Shoot Out All of Your Lights, The Devil, Electricity, which was the single, Evil Eye, Teach Them How to Bleed, Till the End, Tell Me Who to Kill, Choking on Your Screams, When the Sky Comes Looking for You, and I wasn't sure what to make of the last song when I thought, oh, they're doing this. And it is Sympathy for the Devil. They touch one of the Stones' sort of untouchable songs, motorize it. Man, it's killer. So Lemmy's voice was better here than it had been in several years. The songs are much more well-crafted than they had been in a long time. This was obviously not meant to be the final album. It was. They went out on an extremely high note. If you're a fan of the band, you probably have it. If you don't know a whole lot about them, check this one out. Go buy it. Really, it's all these, of course, I say go buy. But this was a really good way to, a grand finale, so to speak. Kind of makes me sad. It does make me sad thinking about it. Number 6. Overnight Sensation from 1996. I picked this one up. It still has the sticker on it from the CD warehouse in East Lansing, Michigan. I remember exactly buying this. I was a junior in high school, and we were at the Michigan Youth and Government Program, and we were staying at the Radisson Hotel. But before everything got started, we were able to have an afternoon running around the campus of East Lansing, probably annoying all the college kids, hitting the coffee shops, and of course I found a CD store because that's what I had to do, because it was the 90s and I was a music nut, and I had to find a CD store. And I hadn't seen this one in the store for a little bit, and this would be as close to a perfect album as you can get if it weren't for the very last song. It's this half electric, half acoustic. I'm sorry, I love Motorhead's music, but this really sort of pandering, happy-go-lucky, listen to your heart. But after the first 10 songs on the album, it should have been a B-side or something. Opens with just the driving Civil War, Crazy Like a Fox, which I believe Metal Edge magazine said it had Yeehaw harmonica on it. It actually does. The slow-talking blues rock, I don't believe a word, Eat the Gun, Overnight Sensation. the best groove on here, in my opinion. I still have this in every playlist I put together for the band. Love Can't Buy You Money, Broken, Them Not Me, Did You See the Accident, The Road is Red with Blood, Funny How It Makes You Feel really, really good. Just, morbid humor in there. Murder Show, and just, again, another slow bruiser, brutally heavy. Shake the World should have been the closing of the album to me, so I stop it after 10 tracks. I don't even think I have the 11th track saved on my iTunes. Yes, I still have an iTunes and an original iPod 30 gig that I play. But this album right here, they had been a 4-piece for quite a while. Since 1984, Wurzel left the band after the recording of the album before this. And Phil Campbell picked up the slack in a huge way. Love this album. Got a lot of infectious grooves on it. Definitely a high point in the band's career to me. Howard Benson was the producer for this. They'd had him producing for a little while. Now we get to what I was talking about. Top 5. And here's an album that was so controversial at the time, because the lineup of Lemmy, Fast Eddie Clarke on guitar, and Filthy Animal Taylor on drums was no more. Fast Eddie left the band after a number of reasons. You can go look it up. I'm already talking too much. So the Holy Triumvirate was broken, and they were looking for guitar players to finish the rest of the tour and then do an album with. And they brought in a guy who, on the outside, sounds like he shouldn't have ever been in Motorhead, and personality-wise, he shouldn't have ever been in Motorhead, because he was a prima donna. He wouldn't play some of the band's early hits, but he wouldn't play Overkill. He wore ballet shorts on stage in front of a crowd of Hell's Angels over in England. The fan club membership dropped. So it actually did a lot of short-term damage, but in the long term, this album has become recognized for being melodic yet heavy, maybe their most diverse album. We're talking about Another Perfect Day from 1983. The guitarist I'm talking about is Brian Robertson, who you probably know best from Thin Lizzy. He was there, for a number of years. He played on The Boys Are Back in Town. He was out of Thin Lizzy, so the year that he made this, the elusive John Sykes had joined Thin Lizzy, and so Lizzy put out its heaviest album to point, and Motorhead put out an album that was equaled in heaviness, but yet was so musically diverse. It starts out with the propulsive Back at the Funny Farm, got Lemmy's bass the same way. I didn't mention with Ace of Spades, it's that opening bass riff that just kills it on that Rickenbacker bass. This is another thunderous opening. The production on this is excellent. Back at the Funny Farm, Shine, Dancing on Your Grave, Rocket was probably the most traditional Motorhead style. One Track Mind, Another Perfect Day, Marching Off to War, which was really one of the first big songs Lemmy did about wars and battles and the folly of man. I Got Mine, Tales of Glory, and Die You Bastard rounded out. Bonus tracks were a couple of B-sides, Turn You Around Again, I Got Mine, which I should have found. I actually have an original 45 pressing of it that I bought in Edinburgh, Scotland. The blues song Hoochie Coochie Man and Don't Need Religion from their Iron Fist record, which I didn't say this, but that's actually my very bottom. I'm not crapping on it, but it's my least favorite Motorhead record. But it's a really cool version on here. Robbo added a lot musically to the lineup, and when he left, it was they went in a different direction, and we'll talk a little bit about that another time. Personality-wise, it just didn't work out, which is a shame, because they could have made some brilliant music together. So, and I, of course, as with most of these, I have the vinyl record. I had an original American pressing of it that I traded for this, because this is the 2015 remaster, I believe. it only has the first 10 songs on it. The American pressing screwed up the track listing. They, back at the Funny Farm was somewhere in the middle of side 2. It was stupid. It was ridiculous. I could not, after listening to the CD in its original form for all those years, I couldn't listen to it. So I sold it, and I got the proper remaster. Sound on here is great. So if you're a vinyl nut like me, I have both, obviously, but if you're only going to buy vinyl instead of CD, well worth checking out. Stay away from that ridiculous American version. Number 4, released June 22nd, 2004, Inferno. And once we're getting up here, I'm not going to use the same adjectives over and over and over again. But Terminal Show opens with Steve Vai on guitar, and it's a basher of a song. Killers, probably the big hit off here that stayed in the set list for most of the rest of the band's tenure. In the Name of Tragedy, Suicide, Life's a Bitch, Down on Me, In the Black, Fight, In the Year of the Wolf, Keys to the Kingdom, Smiling Like a Killer, and a surprise number, again, another one that stayed in. Acoustic guitar, snare drum, harmonica, Whorehouse Blues. Just a tongue-in-cheek, hilarious song. This is such a solid album from start to finish. I don't have a whole lot more to say. Production was great. This is kind of regarded by most Motorhead fans as the best of the, quote, latter-day Motorhead, or the second half of the band's career. I love it. I love it. I love it. But yet there's a few I love more. Here's one always used to be number 3. Always used to be number 2. And this was such an elusive album. I had a hard time. You couldn't find this anywhere. If you know the history of this, you probably know what I'm talking about. It's Bastards. And this was supposedly a new copy, even though it came without the shrink wrap on it. Sam Goody in the mall years ago was able to get an import version of this for me. They had a record. They were dropped after 2 albums with an American big label with Sony Epic. They went to ZYX in Germany. This was basically only released in Germany. Years later, SPV did the right thing, remastered it. It got an American label. They added a bonus track on it. This one, again, as close to a perfect album as you're going to get, except for maybe one song. Even though it could be argued that one's just as good. The ridiculously fast On Your Feet or On Your Knees, the even faster Burner, Death or Glory, I Am the Sword, Born to Raise Hell, which in a different form was on the Airhead soundtrack, the acoustic Socially Conscious song, and I'm not being sarcastic, it really is called Don't Let Daddy Kiss Me. Then the Boogie Woogie Rock and Roll of Bad Woman, the brutally heavy Liar about politicians, the atmospheric Lost in the Ozone, I'm Your Man, We Bring the Shake, Devils, and of all things, on the tacked onto the end of the American remaster was a B-side they had done, a cover of, and it was actually a couple years earlier, but Jumpin' Jack Flash by the Stones, and it's great. This album is pretty widely available. I had the vinyl record. It came from a really, I'm just going to say it, really shitty pressing. ZYX or whoever owns it now, it's some weird name. I don't even know if it was authorized by the band. It couldn't have been, because it was basically, you could tell it was ripped from the CD. It had so much surface noise. It had so much ambient noise in the middle. That's another one I sold, and I've never seen a better copy, so I've never bought another copy on vinyl. I would love to. They recently put out, Everything Louder Forever, and somehow the band got a couple of the tracks and remastered them themselves for a 4 LP compilation. They sounded miles better than the German vinyl reissue, which I hate to do this. Even if you're a vinyl head, stay away from it. Get the CDs. The CDs sound infinitely better than the vinyl pressing. And this is This for years was probably my number one, maybe number two. Now it's down to number three. But again, we're talking 9 out of 10 stars, 9.5 out of 10 stars here. This one used to be, again, slightly lower, but I've gotten into this so much. I've always loved it, and a lot of fans do. 1995 Sacrifice. And so I've got the original German CD on Steamhammer Records. And this one on the back has the whole lineup. I, for years, didn't think Wurzel was even on here. Turns out he didn't play a whole lot of guitar. He was very disenfranchised. He left right after the recording of this, before they even hit the road. But he does contribute. This one I found used down in Holland. You can see the CMC International version that was released just 4 years later removed him even from the credits, which really kind of upset me. This is pure raw aggression. There's almost no signs of early rock and roll on this. This is what I was talking about. I bought the vinyl master a couple years ago at Off the Record here in town. It also sounds amazing. It's got the original German notes in it. It's like 36 minutes long, and it couldn't have been a 37th, you know what I mean? Sacrifice, which the video actually got banned from MTV, which is cool. Sex and Death, Over Your Shoulder, War for War, Order/Fade to Black, Dog Face Boy, All Gone to Hell, the very tribalistic drumming on Make 'Em Blind, Don't Waste Your Time, In Another Time, and Out of the Sun. This is 10 out of 10 for me. Of all their albums, only 2 of them to me are perfect records, and this is one of them. And so you think, what's going to be the other one? It wasn't Ace of Spades, even though a lot of people think that. But here's one. This was another buy, I think, about my junior year in high school. We were down in Benton Harbor, Michigan. There was a big mall down there. We were singing in choir, and I bought Overkill. And I'm going, just getting right to it at this point. 10 out of 10. This was the band's sophomore album. It was produced, oh my gosh. Why am I blanking? It should say, produced by Jimmy Miller, who had produced Some Girls for the Stones. The first album really sounded like a demo record, which is cool, and it's somewhere in that 11 through 21 for me. The sonic leaps here in writing, in production, in camaraderie with the band. This is an original 1979 bronze pressing that I picked up in Edinburgh, Scotland. And I have, because my wife is the best and loves me, for Christmas in 2019, she got me the Motorhead 1979 box set, which they put out Bomber and Overkill. And Bomber, by the way, is a great record, but it's not top 10 for me. Yeah, 2 live albums, another album of outtakes and B-sides, and then the 45 pressing of No Class, plus all the books, all the stories, everything. 180-gram half-speed remaster. Sounds phenomenal. Having that allowed me to sort of semi-retire the original pressing. This CD stayed, I had a 3-disc player in the basement. The CD stayed in the number 3 spot for years. It didn't leave. I love this album so much. I sort of fell out of love with it a little bit, but not really. I listened to a lot more, and then when I started rediscovering it and playing it, this is the album I used to introduce people to Motorhead when they haven't heard it before. Fast Eddie, Phil Taylor, Lemmy. This is the absolute peak, to me, of what they could do. There is not a weak song on here. Overkill, Stay Clean, I Won't Pay Your Price, I'll Be Your Sister, Capricorn, No Class, Damage Case, Tear You Down, Metropolis, Limb from Limb, bonus tracks for the American. This was on Dojo Records, which was the division of Castle. This is the American CD. Too Late, Too Late, Like a Nightmare, Louie Louie, 2 versions of it, because they actually released that as a single leading up to this, and an instrumental version of Tear You Down. And there is not a whole lot more I can say other than this is, and it's as far away stylistically from Sacrifice. That is a hardcore, brutal metal album. This is just pure unadulterated rock and roll. And they're both great, and they're both 10s. And so I'm not going to go back and recap everything because we've covered so much. If you've made it this far, or even if you've watched it in segments, thank you so much for your kind attention. I hope everybody's doing well, and I hope it's not as long until I have another video up. So take care of yourselves, everybody.